So good afternoon, everyone. Buenas tardes, boa tarde. Thank you for joining us today. I'm with Jean-Michel Jefferson, the founder of Ahipara, our DMC in New Zealand, the best. Jean-Michel, so let us know about a little more about your beautiful country.
Cool. Um, this is probably a quicker session than the previous ones because there's less to go through because I'm only just focusing on what's new. But that will hopefully leave time for a number of questions as well at the end. So if you've got questions in mind, we're ready for any of them. Um, so right now it's the end of the season here in New Zealand. We've still got quite a number of people in country. But in the next month or two, we ramp right down to where we only have a few clients over winter. Um, and so I thought it would be a good time to report on the previous season and talk about what's coming next. Because this is the time now of year when we start working even harder to get around the country and create new activities, yeah, change old ones, maybe get rid of some that are getting a little bit old and aren't working as well. So it's the shoulder season, and hopefully one year we'll get Dominique over here for the shoulder season to work with us on some of these things. But we're very much a hands-on DMC here at Ahipara. We've been creating experiences for 20 plus years, and we're quite excited about what's around this winter. Okay, so moving on. We all hate prequels. Um, isn't this? Ah, okay. It is moving. Maybe I should stop clicking too much. I think this is the first page still.
Mhm.
Okay, the main news here is Flock Hill. Now the homestead at Flock Hill has been open for a few years, and some of you may know it. We've been working with the place for a while. What's new about it is the suites. So the left-hand slide over here, you can see these. These are the new suites at Flock Hill. Very, very nice. And what it does is instead of making it a super luxury only destination, it now becomes a luxury destination as well for people who don't want the swanky four-bedroom homestead and instead just want a one or two bedroom suite. You can see the suites have been done extremely well. They're the same sort of price as a as the normal luxury lodges here, which in my opinion is expensive. And the second thing, apart from the suites, which are quite beautiful, is the restaurant. These two middle ones here are of the restaurant. The restaurant is phenomenal. We were here as a team. Like I mentioned, we get around in winter, so the team spent last week over in Canterbury, around Christchurch, which is where Flock Hill is. We had a bite to eat, and the tastes. Speaking as a foodie, the tastes were absolutely superb. Um, Innovative, extremely interesting, and most importantly, very, very tasty. You can see in this particular, this one here, this picture, it looks like a blacksmith's, and a large focus of the restaurant is the cooking of meat. And so this was put together just for the Flock Hill restaurant, and the way that they put the way that they focus on meat, what they do with meat, is really very innovative. Having said that, when we were there, probably 60% of the dishes they put in front of us, and we went for a degustation, of course, were vegetarian. So it's not saying that this is meat, meat, and only meat. It is, yeah, a modern restaurant, and it has all the things that you'd expect out of a modern restaurant. It just focuses a little bit on the meat side of things. You can see some of the ingredients around here. That's not just to make a nice photo. They have their own greenhouses at Flock Hill, and these greenhouses are now going. And we could not believe, the head chef couldn't believe, and we were chatting with him, and we can't believe what they can manage to grow. Because this place is at altitude, and so there are frosty mornings. It is a short growing season, but they're managing to grow some things that I can't grow at lower altitude. So they're obviously better at growing stuff than me. Um, but they're saying that so far, and this is just the opening season for everything, probably 80% of what they have served in the restaurant has come from the property itself. So that's pretty amazing for the first season. And the aim is to make it, of course, 100%. They're well on the way. The day we were there 2 days ago, they had just become self-certified for providing their own meat. So we had their own lamb there. So you can imagine they're already doing 80% from their own property, and they've only just been allowed to supply their own meat. So that's quite something. Obviously, I'm quite excited about the place. I love their focus, and it's a very vibrant and modern and new focus. Meanwhile, going to the other extreme, you'll be wondering what this weird photo is doing here. It's weird because I took it on my iPhone. And for those of you who are interested in the spiritual side of things, this is an astral calendar. So astral calendars, for those who don't know, it's like Stonehenge, and they're used to track the movement of stars and to keep a track of huge long periods of time, like 26,000 years. Um, so Flock Hill has an astral calendar on its land, and I have just received permission to take clients on um, and uh, and spend time meditating around that calendar, which for us types who enjoy meditating is something pretty special. Um, Even more special, I think I have found the right person from the Maori community to spend time up there and open it up to people in terms of stories. This is quite a find because normally those sorts of things are kept under wraps. But the day before we went to Flock Hill, I was having dinner with this Maori lady, and it turns out she's perfect. So she doesn't know it yet, but she will be taking our clients up there. So for those on the spiritual side of things, wow. It's like a druid taking you to Stonehenge. Okay, moving on from Flock Hill. Oh, that worked. This one I haven't been into yet because it hasn't opened yet. It's opening in the next month. And the wonderful thing is it gives us more in Queenstown, gives us more competition, which hopefully should keep costs down a little bit. And it gives us more rooms. And availability, as everyone knows, can be an issue here, especially over the festive season. 15 suite, boutique, high end, right on the lakefront. So you're literally 60 seconds to bars and restaurants on foot. Um, the guy who's managing it used to manage Matakari. I know him, and he knows what he's doing. And the team around them are very smart as well. So I'm expecting this. Oh dear, I've got to touch wood. I'm expecting this to open flawlessly um, and um, and to be generating superb feedback from day one. So that's a brilliant thing. Very, very happy that that's appearing. Um, this is a bloke that we turned up this season. And apologies for the photos. He's a television personality, so he has all sorts of restrictions on what photos he can provide to us. So I got these off Google. Um, he spent a bit of time with our clients this year. There was one particular client who was very interested in spearfishing. So we got them to spend 2 days with this guy, and it was brilliant. The photos that they got out of it were excellent, much, much better than these, but of course we can't share those. Um, with spearfishing in New Zealand, seeing these fish here, this isn't just marketing. This is what we get. This is what we expect to get when people go out, because we're a long way away from everybody. And although, yeah, there have been pressures of commercial fishing, we're not immune to the modern world. It's not nearly as bad as some other parts of the world, and we do have plenty of fish around New Zealand if you know where to go. It used to be that there were plenty of fish even if you didn't know where to go, so that's what's changed. Normally, when people spearfish, the most exciting fish would be this one here in the middle, yellowtail kingfish. They wouldn't go for one that big because that would actually be dangerous for clients. Because what you do is you shoot them and they dive and you hold on. So you've got to be able to hold your breath for a long time. Normally, we would go for a juvenile yellowtail kingfish, which would be about a third that size, which would still give a pretty exciting spearfishing experience for people. For those who aren't quite into that level of athleticism, you can get down and just see things, or you can go down and get our rock lobster. So the rock lobster in New Zealand, a traditional way of getting a hold of one for lunch is to grab it with your hand. Now, some people don't like the idea of sticking their hands in holes in rocks and coming out with something with claws. So they don't obviously have to. Again, you can go down with this guy and see how he does it. And then, of course, um, join in on the eating of the fish later on. Eating of fish, that's an interesting point. We actually, after this, he had got a yellowtail kingfish and we wanted to make sure he could cook it that night. And so we had to check with accommodation that he could. Um, the client, this is. So the client had insisted on staying at a lodge that we didn't recommend because of their service. We weren't so impressed with their service, so we don't tend to recommend them. And this lodge, what a surprise, found themselves unable to cook his kingfish. But luckily, after this, he was going to Flock Hill. And so Flock Hill, one of the finest restaurants in the country, had no problem with cooking his kingfish. So again, it's a matter of knowing where to go and who to go with, and actually following advice could be useful. Okay, Canterbury. So this is the region around Christchurch. Put a map in there. I'm not sure if it's of that much use. Um, where's Christchurch gone? Christchurch is under the under what I can see here as the video. Okay. So what's new in Christchurch? I've put up a photograph here of Otahuna Lodge. It's not new. It's been around for a very long time. It's been around for about as long as us in terms of tourism operation. But I had to mention it because it was just absolutely exceptional. Only about 7 rooms in there. Belonged to probably the most important man in the history of Canterbury. Got a garden that was put together by a guy who worked at Kew Gardens in London. So the provenance of the garden, it could not be better. And it's run by 2 American guys who have had it for a very, very long time and have done a phenomenal job of restoring the place and of ensuring that the service there is impeccable. The chef's been there again as long as the lodge has been open, and is a brilliant chef. Not only a brilliant chef, but a very personable chef. And so the cooking classes with him are an absolute highlight. This is one of the places in the country where I say have a free day. Have a free day to wander around the gardens and annoy the chef and take a cooking class and gather your breath and get your washing done before you carry on with your New Zealand trip. Absolutely phenomenal place. So we were there talking with a number of activity providers and seeing what could be done. Again, it was last week, so photos off the phone and photos off the internet, I'm afraid. Um, this is the Banks Peninsula here. Akaroa, some people will be familiar with Akaroa, and a lovely lady who was actually made known to us by a Dominic de Bay agent, I believe. But we went and met her, and we've worked with her a bit this season. Um, she's called Seventh Generation, and Akaroa was the French settlement in New Zealand. It's got French names on the streets, which are horrifically mispronounced by the locals. Um, and there is French blood left in the locals. This lady is seventh generation from the original French settler from the Normandy region of France. And so she has absolute French blood, but she doesn't speak the language, and but she's very interested in food. So some of the culture has continued coming through. Really, really interesting, in-depth view, a bit different of the Banks Peninsula there. And we talked with a number of the boat providers and kayak providers and so on, and we're revamping that area in terms of activity. So Canterbury is defined a bit by the Christchurch earthquake, which most people will be aware of, and it's been on a rebuild path since that time. I was never a big fan of the region originally because it felt a bit staid, a bit English to me. And then the earthquake happened. But now I think it's coming of age. The rebuilding of the centre of Christchurch is very interesting. And here we have a very, very interesting Maori tour group who are doing a combined ancient and modern food tour, walking food tour of the centre of Christchurch. Um, so funky dining and ancient and modern brought together. That's the way we believe the region is going. So you would be doing things like staying in beautiful places like this, and then going out with locals, having a laugh, seeing what the locals do. Um, so we're quite interested in that. Canterbury, that was. The week before, I was down with our newest team member, who happens to be related to me. Finally, the kids are coming into the business. And we were opening up the Dunedin area as well for tourism. So a lot of people who come to New Zealand give us too little time, and they end up in the more obvious places, coming into Auckland, going to Central North Island, and going over to Queenstown, the Queenstown Lakes. There's a reason they're popular, and that's because they're beautiful. But they can also be a little bit full of tourists at times. So we're looking at opening up areas and informing the world about areas which are less touristic, which give more of an honest New Zealand vibe. Like Queenstown is beautiful, but you walk around the centre of Queenstown in the middle of the season, and probably 80–90% of the people there will not be New Zealanders. So it has a sort of funky tourist resort town feel, but it doesn't give you the "oh, I'm cool, I'm with the locals" feel. So over here does give you "I'm cool, I'm with the locals" feel. It's a university town, Dunedin, over here, which means it's got a slightly vibrant slash feral feeling on weekends as students go out and have fun. Um, Pre-COVID, we were starting to run an idea called Live Like a Local, and we'd identified two families and two properties, and we were offering these to our clients to stay with the family and do what locals did. We're bringing it back, and this is the first step of living like a local is this place in Dunedin. Now, there's a couple of entry-level five-star hotels, which are perfectly nice enough for people who have to have hotels. But we're excited more about these guys. These guys are called Bell Hill Apartments. Three apartments right in the center of town. Again, literally 60 seconds, and you're at a very good restaurant on foot. Their photos aren't so great, and I was too busy talking when I was there to get a good one on my iPhone. But duplex, funky, feels non-standard, everything high quality, and owned and run by locals. And the main owner is an accountant whose office is on the ground floor. So it's got a feel of going and staying at a friend's place who's got a funky apartment in the center of town. So we really like that. In tourism terms, this bit sticking out here is the Otago Peninsula. Now, it's the place that's the home to the rarest penguin in the world, the New Zealand yellow-eyed penguin. It looks like a superhero because it's got a yellow band across here, looks like a Batman mask or something. Um, so the yellow-eyed penguin is beautiful, and we work with a family, and we live down in this region. We live a couple of hours that way. Um, and the family who own this beautiful bay where this photograph was taken of sea lions. They've got seals there, and it's the best place for the yellow-eyed penguins. Their son used to play rugby with our son. So again, it's a strong family connection, and I've been nagging her for years to open up to our clients. She'll take our clients there on private tours. She will go personally with them to give them the owner-hosted experience. She's offered to do picnics there for our clients as well. So it is truly special. The beach is one of the most beautiful beaches I have seen, and it's the only beach in New Zealand which, due to an accident of map making, is a private beach. All of our beaches are publicly accessible, but we've got so many that there's usually hardly anyone on them. This one's actually a private one. Uh, so the views for us, this is world class, absolute world class, and for anyone who's interested in wildlife, it is also world class. So this would be the main attraction in bringing people into Dunedin. But having said that, we were there seeing what we could do as ancillary experiences, because what we tend to like in our philosophy at Ahipara is 3 night stays. So the first night you're getting somewhere, then you've got 2 full days of activities, and then you're off again. And that gives a nice rhythm. Of course, you can stay longer, and of course, you can go shorter if it's just a quick road trip. So, as well as a headline activity, which is this eco sanctuary, we would go. We would offer something else, which is fun, which is local. So, what else is fun and local? Well, what I really like, everyone we met was bright-eyed and enthusiastic because there's a place called the Orokonui Eco Sanctuary, which is up here just north of the city. So that would be probably a 20-minute drive to get up to there. Um, and we were talking to the two main guides there, and they were so enthusiastic and they wanted to do whatever they could for our clients. Um, and um, and yeah, we felt like absolute VIPs. Now you go to Queenstown or some of the more obvious places, and you talk to people, and they can feel a little bit jaded because they see too much volume, and they don't have time, and their resources are stretched, and so on. So what you've got here is the opposite. You've got a real New Zealand feel from real friendly people. There's 3 local breweries. One is a an absolute classic, which has been here forever, which their main headline beer is rather boring, but the new stuff they come up with is quite interesting. Second brewery challenged them, a craft brewery. The second brewery's been around 15 years, and that's this one. Um, Lovely, lovely people. Again, what can we do? Red carpet, we can do anything. We'll do handstands for your clients, not a problem. And the beers there, every single beer here is excellent. And then there's a third one, which is up the coast, just a bit north of here. Um, and that is the latest craft microbrewery, and really very interesting, really lovely guy, and a reason for a trip out. So that can be done as well. Harbourside Cycleway, road here going along the harbour, and the road you can't see as well coming out here along the harbour. And you have from about here to here, there's a little ferry. And so you can jump on your e-bike, start in the morning with a coffee over here, head over to here, jump on the ferry. Over here, there's an excellent gastro pub where you can stop for lunch and then come back. So for people who want to do that, and it is literally 6 feet from the water's edge, the cycleway. So for people who want to do something a bit more active, that's a brilliant second day. Um, and then railroad journeys not ready yet. I mentioned that just to show that we are always focused on the future. The exciting thing about the railroad journeys is their CEO, who is young, vibrant, and full of ideas and open-minded. Now, the train goes out here and up here, and it goes along a piece of land called the Taieri Gorge. Taieri Gorge feels like New Zealand in 1900 because no one can get in there unless you're on the train, and the train hasn't been running since COVID. So we're coming up with ideas of putting tented settler camps in there, doing day trips for pack rafters, day trips for fly fishermen, and it's going to end up funky. At the moment, it's a bit basic, and it's got a scripted commentary which you can't turn off, which was driving me absolutely mad. So I wouldn't recommend it to a client at the moment. But we were suggesting things like having a carriage with no commentary. And then, of course, there's got to be a reason to go. So we've got to be able to do something in the gorge once people get there. The train also goes north up to Oamaru, which is an interesting place to visit. And just south of Oamaru, we've got an old mill, an old wheat mill. And it is possible by sweet talking the locals, as usual in New Zealand. It's a society of volunteers to actually press a button and get this mill working. And I've been in it once the button's been pressed, and it is quite amazing. You've got straps and cogs and things going on everywhere. You're right in the middle. The whole building starts shaking, and you follow the process, which is absolutely fascinating being in it. That again is something we can organize. That's more expensive. That will probably only be at the VVIP end because you've got to get the locals out. and pay for it as a single person. We also gave the idea to the rail lady, and she's probably going to run 2 scheduled trips a year up there because it's cheaper when you've got a full trainload of people to get them to activate the mill. Also, it goes past that brewery, which is further north, so you could just go halfway up, jump off the train, grab a few pints, and then catch the train on the way down again. So you get the feel. Um, Very, very local, and that's the work we've done on that place so far. Um, okay, this is the final slide. Um, what's happening at the moment? We're still in the country roughly 20% down on pre-COVID, so it's not feeling too crowded, which I really like. I fundamentally disagree with the latest moves that Tourism New Zealand is putting forward. They're obviously getting some lobbying in, and they're trying to bring more Chinese groups in, and they've just started marketing into India, which I just struggle with because there are some markets that come here to spend, and there are some markets that come here to spend as little as possible. And China and India are both markets that come here to spend as little as possible. So what we get is volume, which brings the experience down for other people and not so much money coming in. But anyway, that's the way they're going, and I'm only one voice. And it's still not too bad in this country. You know, we whinge about finding another person on the beach when we go to the beach, so maybe we're spoiled. Um, for us, we're 30% up since pre-COVID, and that's now two and a half seasons we've had, so that's all going really well. But in general, here in New Zealand, luxury is tracking better than non-luxury tourism, so that's really good. One of the worries I have is our top lodges, and I've been having conversations with them for 20 years and saying, guys, you're just too expensive, and their response every time is, well, we're full. So people are paying it. So yeah, okay, people are paying it. I still have some difficulty ethically, but maybe again that's me being overprivileged with these sorts of rates. Now, when we talk with and plan trips with clients, what we normally say is mix it up. By all means, go to a luxury lodge, but let's get the right one for you. But there's some entry-level five-star properties which are absolutely brilliant, which we really recommend. There's also some apartments, some possible glamping experiences. The difficulty in New Zealand with glamping experiences, and you can find them on the internet, is there's no service because the locals who put together these glamping things don't really have an idea about service. So often we get asked by clients and agents, look, what can do on the glamping side? And we've seen so many on the internet. Yeah, cool. We'd only recommend a couple of those to give a true service and also a true glamping experience because some of these are in people's back gardens. Um, so looking at the future, um, everything's going nicely and people are still paying these amounts for the top lodges. What happens if the US economy weakens? What happens if the New Zealand dollar strengthens? And it's likely to happen, I think. Not that I want to get into politics, but economically, I think the US economy will weaken. And what happens then is people go to what they perceive as stronger economies, and we're perceived as being independent at the other end of the earth, and we tend to do better. But having looked at the numbers, and I ran a scenario earlier this morning, it would only come up to about US, 26 only, but still expensive. But the main thing there would be people from other markets thinking, I'm not that comfortable spending that much given how much is coming in back at home. Um, so a lot of other New Zealand luxury travel companies only recommend the top lodges. We have been working across the board, 6 star, yeah, 5 star, yeah, 4.5 star. We've done $1 million itineraries for the super high end. We've also done 4 star self-drive itineraries for honeymooners, and we don't discriminate. And everyone is a VIP for us. So the main thing to bear in mind is you don't have to spend that amount to have a brilliant time in New Zealand. Uh, yeah, budget that amount for 2 or 3 brilliant nights at Flock Hill. But when you're in a place where there is another luxury lodge which isn't quite so good, maybe try something else, something funky, something with atmosphere, something run by locals and so on. Um, got to mention that festive season. It's every year I say this is the worst time to come to the country, and every year there's huge demand that comes in. Um, you do need to book over a year in advance if you're picky. If you want only high end and you have your mind set as to what properties you want, you need to be over a year in advance. There are gaps if you've got smaller groups, back gaps do appear. If you have flexibility, wow, we can make things happen up until the last moment if people are flexible. And it's worth now mentioning what I call the September effect. Cancellation policies over that festive period are usually 3 months. So around September, a whole bunch of people who have been holding space, even though they shouldn't, stop holding that space. So at that last minute in September, suddenly there's availability. So what some people like to do is say, okay, let's develop an itinerary, let's keep it on ice, and let's see if we can make it happen in September. Yeah, we're happy to try that. Um, so the September effect, don't forget it. So you might come to us now and you might have a set mind about where you want to go, and we could look at it. We say, sorry, it's just not possible. But do you want us to put it on ice until September and see what we can do? It's an option. However, my advice remains come after then. And it's not just because of the fact that the whole country is busy. It is for a multitude of reasons. For New Zealanders themselves, it's the festive season, so there's family pressure on locals. For New Zealanders themselves, it's the big summer period. So there's a double load of pressure on keeping your own family happy. You know, the kids need their fix. The wife needs the fix. Even the in-laws need the fix. So it's there's a lot of pressure on New Zealanders working in tourism to keep everybody happy and to juggle a lot of balls. And at the same time, the weather um, typically has still not stabilized around that time. So historically, the weather stabilizes into a long hot summer between mid-December and mid-January. For the last 10 plus years, it's been mid-January. So I say if people want to come and see the best of New Zealand, I would say 20th of Jan until mid-March is the very, very best of long, hot summer and relaxed locals. And finally, point I'm making at the bottom, we're now moving into a big push on developing new experiences. A large part of what we've been doing for the last 2.5 years is rebuilding the team and recovering since COVID and working out who out there is still standing, who out there is still performing. And so now we're back on the front foot and we're taking it to the world and developing new experiences. So we've got some really interesting ideas, and we're going to be road testing them and bringing them into being over our winter, so over the next few months. Cool. That's it from me. I'm ready for questions. So
Thank
do I hit stop share, Dominic?
Yes, yes, yes. So we can
Yeah.
see you in the bigger. Thank you so
Oh,
much
cool.
for sharing
Uh,
all the news and the future trend. So Julia would like to know how long is recommended for New Zealand to really get a good test.
yep. Okay. My long. No, all right. Trying to be quick. New Zealand is the length of the eastern seaboard of the US, so it's longer than it actually looks. I've calculated 15 regions in New Zealand. We recommend 3 days in each region. 15 times 3 equals 45. Very few clients have 45 days. On the other side, pre-COVID, our average was 10 days. 10-day average, you can do 2.5 regions. It's a bit short, 10 days. Post-COVID, our average has moved up to 12 days. We can do 3.5 regions. It's getting better. It's not bad. People can get a good idea. But 2 weeks and over, we start getting happy. I had a client who came to me a couple of weeks ago with a whole month. That's when we get really excited because we can go deeper into things. So the answer is anything over 2 weeks, we're pretty happy, given that we're realistic and not a lot of people have a lot of time.
Yeah. But if the clients have only 1 week, can you
Of
still
course,
bring out?
yep. The shortest we did was 3 days. I wouldn't
3 days.
recommend that,
Yeah.
but yeah, with 1 week you can do 2.5 destinations with 1 week. It is possible. Yep.
Yeah. And then the clients can always come back because I'm sure they
Yep.
find love. Huh? Alors,
Yep. What?
Céline, you said it's very interesting presentation. You're giving and mostly your opinion and feeling, huh? Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
yes. We're full of opinions, but that doesn't mean you have to listen to them.
oh no, but you know what you're doing, huh? So no, no,
Mm.
good to follow. Good to follow. Julia is asking about Uka Lounge. What are your thoughts?
Oh, really good. Well, both. So for those who don't know, Hooker Lodge was our main luxury lodge for a long, 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 long time, and taken over by an Aussie group, Bailey Lodges. So taken over by Bailey Lodges in the last couple of years, and since then they've been tinkering with it. They did a huge refurb. They were meant to open in January of this year, and we all thought Hooker Lodge, yeah, it's like buying gold, you're totally safe. So we booked clients in and so on. And then not long before they were meant to open, they suddenly said it's going to be 3 months. And we all, the inbound community, had to cancel and move, and we were not happy because obviously these guys at Hooker Lodge knew that this was going to happen, but none of them had said anything to any one of us in the inbound community. So at the moment, Bailey's Lodges are not a good name here in New Zealand amongst the luxury community. But when they reopened, they invited a bunch of us to go and spend a night there. There was half a dozen. Uh, okay, I'm being reminded 2 nights. Um, there was half a dozen of us there, and I was overseas. Karen, my wife, went, and she says it's phenomenal. Absolutely beautiful what they've done. The refurb is at the level of Flock Hill, which in my opinion is the highest in the country. So, yeah, Hooker Lodge is back, all guns blazing, and they got something to prove because they let us all down pretty badly.
Thank you. Sherry said, interesting presentation. Thank you. Learn things. Julia, how is your golf knowledge?
My golf knowledge is good. My golf play is terrible. I did fluke a hole in one once, but my golf is agricultural. Yeah, we've got again in New Zealand some obvious golf courses that everyone wants to play. We got one golf course you can only play if you know someone who is a member. So we've got a snooty golf course, and we've got local golf courses, and then we've got golf holes in unusual places. So yeah, we can keep golfers pretty happy. And we've worked with golfers in the past. We understand about equipment, understand about trailers, understand about four caddies, and so on. So yep, we know what we're doing in golf.
Alors, Kathleen said, any scuba diving?
Yes, Jacques Cousteau's top 10 includes one non-tropical destination, and that one non-tropical destination is the Poor Knights in New Zealand. Um, it's beautiful arches and tunnels and small things, and it's mainly the variety that put it on his list. Um, and nudie branches, little things. So we don't have too many big sexy things underwater. But for the true scuba diver who's into anything and ticking things off the list, the Poor Knights is phenomenal. As well as that, New Zealanders tend to use scuba diving to gather food. There's a large food gathering culture here. So things like going to get your lobster, you can do that with scuba gear on as well. I think that's legal. Yes, that is legal, so long as you don't use a spear gun. So the main thing about scuba diving here is it's wetsuit diving. It is cooler in the water. So long as people are happy wearing wetsuits, there is good diving here. Yeah.
Mhm. Julia, you're saying best presentation. Thank you. Christian, thank you. Jean-Michel, Dominique, very nice and informative presentation. Alors, but thank you, everyone. Thank you for being there for us. And Jean-Michel, yeah, always your webinar are full of you. And yeah, no, it's very nice because you always say the truth.
Yeah.
I think people can understand that they can fully trust you and you're going to have the best for their clients. Huh? And what a magnificent country. So.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So we're going to say goodbye to everybody. I do not see any more questions. Jean-Michel will be sending you the recording and the presentation, and hopefully you might have some clients for him very soon. Huh? Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Jean-Michel. Thank you.
Goodbye.